What's up, guys? Welcome to the Bomb Squad, where we talk about underappreciated and overrated movies. And sometimes we pick movies without really reading anything about them, like how easy it's going to be to talk about on a YouTube and Spotify podcast,
Yeah.
any controversies that might ruin the entire experience of that said movie. And sometimes we're just off the cuff. So you're welcome for this one. So come back from this commercial break and find out we have another entry in our banned series, and it might be the most banned movie of all
It's
time.
pretty banned.
I wish
Yeah.
I could have
Yeah.
banned it from my eyeballs, but we'll talk about it. It's not that bad, as I'm saying. We'll talk about it when we get back from this delicious commercial break. What's up, guys? Welcome to August or September, whenever this airs. We just want to tell you, if you like us, give us a like and subscribe. And also, check out our short films page. We got a bunch of short films. They're all cool. They have anything from horror to comedy to back to horror. Guess what? There's a lot of horror. Someone asked me if I was a horror director, and I was insulted. And then I realized that I do 99% horror. It's okay.
That's good.
And speaking of non-horror films that I've made, Borderland, along with two other films whose genre is multifaceted and not just one thing, we have Borderland, Empty Space, and the last one's all on Tubi and different streaming services. Go find out if it's on your favorite streaming service. And if your favorite streaming service is Tubi, the answer is yes. So go check those things out. Check out our podcast, like and subscribe, and we'll see you back on the Bomb Squad. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bomb Squad. We're going all the way back to the 70s. Every once in a while, we like to talk about banned movies that got banned for one reason or another. This movie was super banned. It was like not shown, and it was like banned for like up until like the 90s. Like, I know that even John Lennon was a huge fan. It actually started, I don't know if you guys know this, but it started the midnight movie series, because the only way you could watch it is through watching midnight movies, because first run theaters would just show it, kind of like Rocky Horror. And you don't need permission when you're just showing it at first run theaters. Good thing they've all been replaced with franchises. And so it was very hard to find. It recently came out, or it came out like in the 90s, and now it's kind of gotten a cult following. But today we're talking about 1970s El Topo, or The Mole. El Topo is The Mole in Spanish. It is directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is like not even Mexican. This is a Mexican classic film, but he's Chilean and French, the two enemies, the two natural predators of Mexicans. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
We all know who the natural predator of Mexican is, and they are, well, we'll talk about it. But anyway, it was banned for a long time. A lot of people tried to do it, but do I even dare to ask William, whose turn it is, to summarize this film in a sentence?
Can any of us summarize it?
Can Jaronowski?
Yeah. I mean, let's see. It's about a guy who has to find 4 gunmen in a desert, and then once he kills them all, he goes to a cave and then liberates some people from a cave into a world of sin and violence.
Yeah. It's almost like saying it's about this thing until it's not about that thing anymore, which is kind of the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's not really a plot. It's more of like an experience as opposed to like
a
a story or
vibe.
anything.
It's a vibe heavy movie. So I don't know. This is the first Jaronowski film I've ever seen. I've also done The Holy Mountain and Santa Sangre, which we'll eventually cover. He's really taking advantage of that Mexican film status, it would seem. Take that 30, 40 years ago, Jaronowski. You Chilean bastard. But is this the first movie? I know I did see Jaronowski's Dune, which is a really good documentary about how sometimes movies fall apart, but that doesn't make the experience any worse.
Right.
Is this the first Jaronowski film that you guys have seen?
Yeah, I watched this whenever we were in school, so I saw it like a long time ago. But like, I don't know, I didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like
But
as
now
much as
you
one
do.
can understand. No, I mean, like I guess my attention span was better this time, but like I don't know if that's better or worse. Like when I saw it in school, I was just kind of like, I was watching it to just be like, oh, I've seen El Topo, guys. Like, have you? No, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like just kid stuff.
I've never seen a Jodorowsky film before. I will definitely, without getting too into it, I will say my first reaction is very like, oh, this is kind of what people are talking about when they're like, oh, an art film that like you're a snob to like, like okay, this kind of makes perfect sense when I'm watching it.
Yeah, it's very much a timeless, and by timeless I mean that time does not matter in this film. I also
Yeah.
want to say that as we start, and it'll become very, very relevant as we start this film, but Jaronowski is one of those kind of filmmakers who kind of leaned into being shocking, not just in his
Yeah.
content, but also in the way he talked. If you've seen have you ever seen a Nicholas Winding Refn film or an interview with him? He was very much inspired, and he kind of does that same the genre, the film will completely change halfway through kind of way. It was a lot of
Mhm.
like back and like if you think, you know, if people are shocked when like Kay Gaber has a letterbox review and she gave Spider-Man 4 stars instead of 5 and they run her off of letterbox, if you thought that was bad, like imagine how you guys would have dealt with like one Jaranowski, like just saying things at any
Yeah.
point. Like even like a couple of years ago, we ran him off Twitter because he was talking about how he thinks incest sometimes can be beautiful, and it's like, all right, man, like we
Yes.
got it.
Just
Like
chill.
he's very
Let's
into
stop.
tarot card
Yeah.
readings and like
Right.
just being shocking, and you can see it in the film. And we'll talk about whether it has a purpose or not. But now we can,
Right.
now that you've been properly prepared for this movie, we can start talking about it. So I don't know. It's almost like we are gonna have to go over the plot, but the plot, well,
I
I'll
mean, the
say
plot's there. It just doesn't really matter.
I would
in a
almost
way.
say the opposite. I think,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of get to it at the end where the plot is the only thing that matters, and he skips through character moments that we should
It's
see. And there's one real big moment near the end that I think this is when I kind of realized this and why I don't think I enjoyed this movie as much as other people did. But let's start going through it. So the first thing we do is El Topo is like a cowboy. He's also El Topo's a mole, and a mole is like an underground creature who like is a scavenger and a vermin. So I think that's why, because this guy is kind of like he's all dressed in black. He has a umbrella on his horse, which is like hell yeah,
Mhm.
that's cool.
It's like the
Um,
iconic cover image.
yeah, and he has a son who's just naked, like,
yeah. His
who's
his
played
son,
by his
just-
real son.
his son is naked
Which-
except for a cowboy hat. He's
Yeah.
fully,
Which
fully
is-
naked.
Also funny because Jaranowski, like, which is gonna come up a couple of times. Jaranowski, like, after this film, when his son was older, he had his son, like, he brought his son out and he apologized for making him be in this film, and he
Yeah.
had him like in this film, like the first thing he does is he buries a picture of his mom and his favorite toy, and Otapo's like, "Now you're a man, come with me," and
He,
like
plays the flute while he's doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so later, after the film was made, he had the son come back out and Jaranowski had dug his toy and a picture of the mom in the sand. He's like, you can dig them out, and he's like, now you can be an 8-year-old boy again. And then later, when they
What an
interviewed the
annoying
son,
guy.
Oh, God.
later when they
Yes.
interviewed the
Yeah.
son, he was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I knew it was a movie. Like, I wasn't traumatized or anything." Jaranowski just kind of thought that in his head, and it's like, yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
That's so performative. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, an artist being performative. How weird.
It's just crazy. Like the whole time, like whenever I didn't realize it was his son until after I finished the movie, but I was just like, who put their kid in this? Like this is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is bonkers. Like this is so weird.
It is because I was describing kind of what happens in this movie to my wife, and I was like, oh, and just the kid's naked the entire like beginning of the film. She's like, well, I guess it's like as long as it's not like sexual, that's like not bad. I'm like, well, it's not, but then they are surrounded by sexual violence, so it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
still
It-
very weird.
it
You
is-
know?
Yeah, I think the naked thing isn't as weird as like showing the kid, like they get to the first town and like
Yeah,
everyone has
killed.
been slaughtered, and there's like
Mhm.
dead bodies, there's like blood in the streets, and there's like a donkey
Eviscerated
with
cows.
See,
Yeah.
yeah, with his
this is kinda where
stomach cut up. and
I was
stuff.
wondering, and I almost feel like it's one or the other because they get there and it's like a blood meridian basic scene,
Yeah.
but the blood they use is like comically red, and I was like, oh, are they kind of doing that to highlight the artificiality of it, or is that just the best blood you could get in mass quantities in like 1969 when you're you know, like it's like
Yeah, and that's how blood always kind of looked
Yeah, and
in
this,
older movies too. But that's a
yeah,
good
okay.
question though, yeah, because it does
I
look
d-
artificial. Yeah,
I do think that, yeah, I wouldn't say that was Jaranowski's choice, but it had to have been someone's choice because the blood is really red, and I feel like
It's like
they could
Looney
have
Tunes
figured it
red,
out
yeah.
yeah,
how to make blood. But like, even if you see the Wild Bunch, anytime someone gets shot, they're just shooting out like red blood. Of course, the
yeah.
Giallo films. I don't know. I miss the bright red blood. Like, put some color in there,
I do
buddy.
like it.
That's
And
But
so
yeah,
so he
it's
so he goes and finds this group of people who are like dancing with monks and giving them
yeah,
kisses.
this is like kind of where you immediately are
Don't
like, I
that, William. That's a weird scene.
you're
huh?
like,
I was
oh,
just moving the plot along.
just how it is. No, because it literally smash cuts from this naked child executing a dying man, like at his father's insistence, to like comedy trumpets as these bandits like make a woman out of rocks to pretend to sleep with, and like
Yeah, which
one's
is like the
dressed like a
master kind of.
hippie.
Yeah.
What, like they're all kind of played for laughs, even though they're like doing
A guy like
weird
makes out with his
sexual
shoe.
things to
Yeah.
monks, and it's like,
Yeah, they're like dancing with the
okay,
monks and giving them
I'm supposed to
kisses.
not take it seriously, but this is super dark. I don't know.
You're right.
It's very off-putting. You know?
And then they meet a woman who's been kept as a slave by the colonel. He's the main guy in charge. And so El Topo kind of comes in and just murders everyone. Like, he kills everyone right away. Then he like shoots off the colonel's head, and you see like a little blood on his head, which is a pretty cool effect. Then he kills the colonel, and then he runs off with the woman. And then we cut to like there. Oh, and then he leaves his son behind
With the monks,
to be
yeah.
raised by monks. So that's it for the son. The main
you just see,
iconic
and then it
imagery of this
because it
film.
flashes Genesis on the screen when he
Yeah.
leaves the sun with the monks.
Yeah.
and you're
And,
like,
and
okay,
at first, like the kid tries to like, because like the woman, who I think her name is Mara, is that
Yeah.
correct? Like she goes up to El Topo and like they're walking to the horse, and then the son kind of like tries to get in between them, and like pushes the Mara away, and then El Topo's like, "No, you must go." So it's like some kind of like thing there. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it's like
I
like
think
how kids like their parents. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird.
there's a part of me that kind of feels like every character, and I do think it kind of ties into the themes, which we'll get into later. But where they're kind of everyone in this movie is kind of acting on like animal instincts as opposed to human instincts. So like to me, I kind of
Yeah.
felt like El Topo is leaving his kid behind because now he has a wife or a woman, and the woman can provide more children. The woman can do all that. So like he's like, no, now you have to go live on your own. I don't care what happens
Yeah.
to you. I'm going with this woman. And so then they end up in the desert, and they're like drowning, or they like need water. So El Topo like he makes a woman stand, and he puts her feet apart, and then he digs up eggs from
Yeah,
the
like
sand.
snake eggs or something.
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought
It's
they
like-
were people eggs. I just assumed it was magical realism.
I mean,
And
honestly, it could be. It's a little undefined.
Yeah,
And then he, like-
everyone's a little magic in this.
he
film.
kind of
Yes.
he prays to God throughout the whole thing, and he prays to God, and he's like, please let these eggs give us what we want. And then they put the eggs on like a rock, and they shoot them, and then like a water fountain just starts, like clearly
Yeah.
like a sprout of water. So then they both drink it at the same time in a very weird way. And so then she tries it, and nothing happens, and she's like, oh, it's because you don't believe. And so then, and we'll figure out, we're at 13 minutes, we can kind of allude to it better, but he
Oh.
takes advantage of the woman. And
Yes.
this is like, okay, so he takes advantage of her, and then she tells him that he'll never return her love until he proves himself by being the best gunfighter, by defeating the 4 best fighters in the desert. And I just want to cover that because that's what the goal is. That's what the whole movie's kind of about for a long time.
Right.
But let's talk about this scene real fast. So in the 50 years ago, Jaranowski released a book, and in the book he said that the act was real, and that he really did it. And then then he came out I think 10 years ago, and he said No, I was just doing that for shock value.
Yeah.
I clearly wasn't like he's like it wasn't real. Like everything, it was in the script. Even in the original comment, he said it was in the script. He just did it during rehearsal instead of when they were filming, so the actress was caught off guard. But then when he clarified, he said, "No, this was just a publicity stunt. I didn't mean it." And I gotta say, like, it's a weird thing because the actress Mara Loranzino, who plays Maria, she's never come out and said anything either way. Um, but it's kind of a weird thing because I remember back, and this is even weirder, in the 70s, there was this kind of like bragging about how extreme you could be. Like the Last Tango in Paris with Brandao and who directed that movie? Was it Milos Forman?
I believe it was Bertolucci.
Bertolucci, yeah,
Or
yeah.
no, is that no? I don't know who
Hold
directed
on, I
that.
can
Whoever directed The Last
damn.
Emperor directed that.
Damn, he
Want
just
me to
directed
look
a
it
lot of
up?
last
I have-
movies. Yeah, no, William was right. It was Bernardo Bertolucci. They also kind of did something similar. Like, no, it was so real. It felt real, and
Mhm.
it's like I think it's that thing where back in the day they were just trying to say that it was very passionate. I mean, this act was a lot more prevalent in movies back then. Last House on the Left, this
Yeah.
movie, so
Yeah.
it
Bring
it
Me the Head
it
of
wasn't.
Alfredo Garcia.
Yeah, it wasn't as controversial to put it in films, which is I think was more so because they didn't really understand it at the time than they were trying. But like again, this guy's trying to be shocking. He says dumb
I
things all
think
the
almost
time.
there's like an Andy Kaufman performance artist thing to it where it's like, oh, it's all real or is
Yeah,
it fake? Oh, but it is or is it? It's like, all
Cannibal
right, it
Holocaust.
that
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah.
wears off, and you're like, let's
It's
stop.
like let's
But anyway, so that was a bad part. And so yeah, he hasn't. So we'll talk about
But
more of the film.
don't
But we
worry,
just wanted to get that out
there's
of the
also
way.
violence against
Yeah.
animals coming up, so
Yeah, and
there's
then there's
still things to not like
Yeah.
in the movie.
yeah.
I
do-
like
I
you said at
do-
the beginning, this is the most banned movie
I do
we've
feel
ever
like
covered.
this is a little bit worse than the animals dying. Just in like we don't have to rank them. I don't know why Judge ranking them, but we don't have to rank them.
I'm just saying,
Oh.
like
He's
you're not
ranking them. I
like
think
you're
it's
not
just
like
saying
oh
it's
you
coming
get
out.
past that
It's like
scene and the rest of it
there's
Oh
seems
yeah,
sailing.
yeah.
The whole
that-
thing's kind of
that is
unpleasant.
that
you
is
know?
correct. Yeah, like you're not gonna be like, oh, I'll just skip that scene and watch.
like-
rest the rest
Right.
of it's like
You're
no.
not
Then
really
it gets
safe. Yeah.
then it gets gross in content. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Again, that's actually a pretty good point. Is that back in the day, like if you killed an animal today, even if it was a foreign film, everyone would like boycott your movie and do all that. But again, in the 70s, it was kind of part of it. I kind of understand the reasoning if we cook animals, like why can't we kill them for film? I just think it's gross. Like we don't have to. Like it's a movie.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
debasing.
And so yeah, that's gonna come up. But anyway, so that's the point of the story is that he has to go kill 7 killers, and so he sets off to do that with the girl. So it's like, why did we even have to talk about this?
And it's weird
Um,
when she does it because like it's just kind of out of nowhere. Like she's
Yeah.
just like, by the way, there's 4 gun masters in the desert, and you got to kill all of them, or else I won't respect you and I won't be with you. And it's like,
It's-
when was
This-
this part of the deal?
this was like the Scott Pilgrim of the '70s. You know, he has
Yeah.
to kill all of her evil exes. To
Yeah.
get there,
Well,
so.
apparently this was one of who's the guy who made Metal Gear Solid?
Hideo Kojima.
Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, apparently it was a huge inspiration. It's one of his favorite movies, and he used it to set the plot of Metal Gear Solid. So
I can kind of
yeah, it's
see it with
Yeah.
the bees
hugely
and
influential.
such.
But yeah, so he goes place to place to kind of find these warriors. And I gotta say, you'd think that this would be kind of the most interesting part because he like goes and sees the warriors, and like the first one or one of them is like a super hippie. One of them is like the first one. One of them has a racket. I forget what the
Mhm.
first one's the most boring. What does the first one do?
The first one, he survives getting shot by extreme concentration, and he allows bullets to pass through his flesh
That's
without
right.
any resistance. So he doesn't really bleed anymore, and he can just kind of get shot.
Yeah. And then
It's-
eventually
yeah.
they and then it's always like, oh, I can do this, and then El Top is like, okay, and then he shoots them anyway.
Mhm.
So it's like a very boring. I don't know. I found this part kind of the least interesting part of the whole series.
Yeah, you do
4
think from the
people or this
setup,
one guy in general.
The 4 people in general, like you think that
because they're
gonna
all
be
like
more
magic in a
interesting.
way that's like doesn't matter. You know, I guess if that makes
And
sense.
And see, this is what I kind of mean, and this isn't the point I was talking about, but this is what I kind of mean by story. that they're kind of more focused on the plot than the characters. Because like in Scott Pilgrim, which is a good example, I'm just gonna do a like, are these movies the same? El Topo and a Scott Pilgrim. Um, in Scott Pilgrim, like every one of the exes has not just a connection to Ramona Flowers, but also like there's a reason why they want to fight Scott. Whether like it's he's too cocky with the actor, the girl like feels insecure because she's the only girl on the exes. The main guy is like too cocky. You know, like they all have something to add to the characters, not only themselves but how they relate to the other characters.
Mhm.
And in this, it's just like, nah, it has nothing. Like his powers or however they stop him don't really like affect anything. It's just that's who they are, you know. And so it ends up being
Yeah.
like, in I think in a more traditional movie, they would have some kind of connection either to the girl. Like there'd be a reason the girl wants them to do this, but
I
there's
mean, well, I
really
think it's
not.
kind of like a big thing. Like I don't know if he actually states this in the movie, but it's like he's supposed to be like trying to like find enlightenment. And so like the four different people that he meets, kind of like the first guy is kind of like physical mastery of like his own flesh and concentration, and then like the next guy is kind of about like beauty and love, and then like the third guy is about like the heart. Like I feel like there's like some kind of
No,
like
I get it because I mean even the beginning of the movie we didn't cover this, but the him narrating it, he's like, a mole is someone who digs through the dirt to look for God, but is blinded when he
right.
reaches the surface.
It's kind of
And
like a
it's
Plato's cave kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's like okay, every one of them is like some sort of like step on like enlightenment, and like getting with this woman is like enlightenment, but it's more like it's weird how much plot there is before and after this that's like normal, and this is like the super like meditate, you know what I'm saying? Like
This
it's
is
weird to
like how the
have
movie is
this
like
in the
always
middle,
advertised.
the
Yeah.
middle of the
yeah.
film. It's weird that this is the middle, you
Well,
know?
I feel
Yeah.
like just like basic, like if you just talk about this generic like title, this feels like it's gonna be the most connected. Like he has to go to each
Right.
one and
Hmm.
stop them, but but when you're watching it, it just kind of feels monotonous. Like it
It's very
just
quick.
feels
Yeah,
It's very
repetitive.
quick, exactly.
And it's
like
very
in
quick.
the back
Yeah,
of the box of like every DVD release is like it's only about this part.
yeah,
It's like
and it's
mysterious
really
cowboy must.
and
do
I do get
this.
because this
really
is
not.
like
Yeah,
it's the most interesting premise in theory is this part, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
you're
it's
like
the
this
most
is what you
explainable
kind of
too.
want
Yeah.
if it was really about this, you know.
So after he kills the first person, then there's a woman who's just kind of like him. I don't know if it's supposed to be just exactly like him or not. There's a woman
Yeah.
there, and she's like, "Oh, I can help you go to the other ones." And the other and Maria or whatever, Mara is like, "Oh, okay." So
Yeah.
they go, and then after the final, they get to the well. There's like the guy. I don't know. There's like the hippie. There's a guy who like hits it with the racket. Like he has a tennis racket and he hits the bullet away, and he's like, "Look what I can do!" And it's like, all
Right.
right.
Yeah. He's like
There's
the final
the
one, and he's supposed to be kind of like the like he's like given up on like any sort of like what's the word? Like he doesn't. He's so detached from like reality and like
Yeah,
life
he
that
tells
he's like
them.
yeah, he's just like Zen master. Like if he dies, it's fine. He doesn't really
Yeah.
care about.
is
like,
that the guy with
death
like
thing
the
anymore.
servant who's like a little person being carried around by an armless man?
No, it's the old man
That's the
in the
other one.
at the desert.
That's the okay, yeah.
And that he even tells him. I think at one point he's like, "Killing me wouldn't do nothing. I would feel the same." It's like,
Yeah.
all right.
He's
So-
very he's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah,
Basically.
This is Watchmen for the 70s. And so he decides to kill himself, and then El Topo like is
Yeah.
super guilt ridden because
Okay,
he just-
because he's realized that like transcending means nothing anymore. Like there's like no way to like, or I don't know. Like how do you guys interpret that? Like he's
it's
trying
like-
to like find like
It's almost like a
his own
shame thing where
transcendence,
he's
but it's
like, is this worth it? You know, And
Right.
in my
And
mind,
he's used
kind of.
tricks
Because
the
he
whole time.
goes back
Yeah.
then to like the other ones, right? At that point,
yeah, that's when he
Right,
goes back
yeah.
to their corpses, and that's when he finds them. They're either on fire or they're
one,
like
one is
been-
bees.
One of them is
One's-
bees,
Mhm.
yeah, which is going to be important, which you don't think is going to be important, but it does come back for no
Yeah.
reason. And so, and all these people are, I mean, no, that's the thing. I would like to say that they're all like kind of these savage, like gunsmiths, but half of them aren't. Half of them are just hanging out at this point.
yeah.
So I don't really know even what thematically he's trying to say, other than like they just live
I-
in this society. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I feel like it's like all the gun masters that he found that have like mastered their craft are no longer like people of violence, and so his whole ploy was that he wanted to kill them all. So it's like he actually didn't master anything because all he was after was like the destruction. Whereas like
Oh
all the
yeah.
gun masters have kind of like stopped doing the killing part. They're
Right.
more like they have transcended in their own way, and he never found like his truth.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is that is he even looking for his truth?
I don't know. Like it doesn't
I
really.
mean, there's not really enough characterization to like.
Yeah.
You're just kind of seeing it. It's not. There's not. I don't know. I almost feel like it's like what you see is what you get. Where it's like,
Yeah.
he is just this desire. It's like he states it, and that's what he is.
Well, and we'll get to it. But so then he goes back. Well, and then he goes back to him, and like we said, they're either on fire or they're bees.
Yeah.
Candyman. And then the woman that's been with him, who said she's gonna help him, she like shoots him a bunch of times. She like shoots him in the hand for the stigmata. Stigmata is like how they hurt Jesus. And then she shoots him a bunch of times. He falls in the water, which is my favorite scene because it just looks the coolest.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. And then her and Maura go and they ride off, and that's the end of that. That's the end of that story. We don't ever know who that woman was. She doesn't ever come back.
Yeah.
Maura doesn't ever come back. It's just that's the end of this section.
This part, yeah.
And so then El Topo's like lying in the water, and then he wakes up, and it's years later, and now he's in a cave, and
he's been asleep for like 20 years or something.
Yeah,
like
he's been
that.
asleep for 20 years, and he also has a comical Rip Van Winkle style hair.
He looks
and
insane. Yeah.
and beard. He's like, and it's not even like, oh, he's been asleep for 20 years, so his hair's long. No, they give him Doc Brown hair.
Yeah.
And this is almost sort of because he's like because once he's shot, he basically goes into like a catatonic state for 20 years, and this like mutant cults has formed around him, and they just live in this cave, kind of worshiping him. And and they're
can't
all
leave.
They're not like they're all like they've persisted through incest, so they're all like a little off,
Yeah, they're all they all have some kind of deformity.
Yeah.
But they're like, we can't leave the cave, and you're like, oh, this will be like another very like allegor mystical heavy thing, but then the movie's about like, how do we get out of this cave? And that's
and then they treat him like a god, and he's like, oh, I can help you out of this cave, I'll just dig a hole. Because they can't, because they're like because of their disabilities, they can't get out of the hole by themselves, so he decides to do it.
Yeah.
And there's this woman who he's with who's fallen in love with him, so he takes her, and they go out to this town, and the town like treats them all like circus acts.
And this town is like kind of super depraved in the way like any movie about the ultra wealthy is. This town's kind of that.
It's like a Sodom and Gomorrah kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
they're gross and evil, and
they're like, even everyone's laughing at their deformities.
Slavery still happens. Random murders still happen.
Yeah, and they'll like kind of kill slaves for fun.
And they're just
they're very evil. That's what you're supposed to take from this.
Yeah,
and it goes on like this for a while.
Yeah, just showing what they do in the town.
Well, and not only that,
like,
but there's like, it's kind of, I did like this part because there's a part where where they like have this act, and because she's the person that he's with is a little person, and they keep trying to kiss, and like the whole joke is that he's too tall for her, so he'll like try to kiss her, but he
keeps
short.
missing her.
And they do it so much that eventually the town like gets bored with it, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not that funny of a joke. So I do enjoy that. And so eventually, like, they're treated terribly, and then the town forces them at one point to make love, and then the woman is ashamed because she says that El Topo won't want her anymore. I don't know. It's kind of like that. Again, it cuts from them doing this, and it kind of like, it shows El Topo, and he's like he's like sewing a heart back onto his underwear, and and she's like, she's like super like sad, but it kind of makes it seem like they've done this a bunch. But the way she's reacting makes it seem like they've never done it before.
Like that's almost weird because because he's almost just like, oh, that was strange, but he's like going about his day, and she's like horrified that they just had to do that in front of everyone.
Right.
But he's like, hey, don't worry about it, I'll marry you. And then that,
Well,
that like
yeah.
works.
Well, no, because that makes sense, because she's ashamed that he's not gonna like her anymore.
Yeah.
And so he says, oh, we'll get married to kind of prove that he's still gonna like her. So then they go to the chapel, and they want to get married, and that's when the priest sees, or he's a monk, he sees El Topo, and it's the kid from earlier.
Yeah.
He's like, you're my
Yeah,
dad,
it's his
and I
son.
eat your
His
guts.
son is now
Yeah.
born.
So
he's now
he
a
starts
man.
he starts to
Mhm.
beat him up, and then El Topo, and then the woman says, "No, he's helping us. He's gonna let us get out of the cave." So the kid says, "Okay, well, I'll watch you, and as soon as you're done, I'll kill you."
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking. When he says he'll watch him, does he mean metaphorically? It's like, no, he means he's literally gonna be right behind him for the rest of the movie.
He's like Dwight working at Staples. Like,
Yeah,
he'll literally be right here if you have any questions at all.
And I mean, the references we're doing today to describe El Topo between Scott Pilgrim and The Office, like, if you like The Office, you're gonna love El
You might
Topo.
like El
Check out
Yeah, there's lots to
Jodorowsky's El
devour
Topo.
Check out. And so this is a scene that I really want to talk about in terms of character, because then
I want
he
to say
says-
one
oh,
thing
I'm
before you
gonna-
get into
Oh
it.
yes, yes, go ahead.
I don't know if we mentioned this detail. It's not really that important, but we talked about the Doc Brown haircut. He does cut his hair, and so the whole part of this movie that we're talking about right now, he looks like a Buddhist monk.
He's
going through all
fully
this stuff.
shaved head.
He's
Yeah.
very much tried to redeem his past life. He's now trying to look like this holy figure. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that. But
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, he looks like trash. So then the son
It's
comes
not a
out
good
to
look.
like watch him do this, and now the son is dressed like El Topo. And so this is when I realized, like, if you're watching this movie and you think, again, if we break it down to just what the movie's about, with throwing out all the art house stuff, it's about a gunslinger who's violent and eventually realizes that violence is not the answer, and he tries to turn his life around.
Yeah.
And then you have the son
That's pretty much
kind of
it.
like wanting revenge, and then we'll find out what happens. So, but this is like the son kind of like taking over for the dad,
Right.
and like deciding like, oh well, I'm gonna kill him, so I'm gonna be a killer like my dad, I guess. But that's not explained in the character. Like, the son doesn't say anything that leads you to believe this. The son isn't like violent. I mean, he beats up the dad, but that's understandable. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at it from the plot standpoint, it would make sense for now the son to kind of show what happens when you live this life of violence. Like, you're the thing that you create, like the ripple effect is big, like in Oppenheimer. I believe we did, and so it's like the son is kind of getting that back. But again, like, you just have to make that conclusion by yourself, because the movie is
Right.
moving the plot forward, but the characters never move forward. They always kind of stay the same, and so it's very hard to like.
Well, that kind of goes
connect.
back to what we were saying at the very beginning, how I kind of said that plot doesn't really matter, and you said plot is the only thing that matters. I guess a better way to say what I was trying to say is, like, character doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Plot does, but it's like the people don't really, which kind of then makes it feel inert, but then the plot is the one thing that's like continuously pulling everything through, which I think is what you meant by saying
Yeah.
plot's the only
Yeah.
thing that matters.
No,
And I
But
think
I see
the
what you mean for sure.
The reason that it's confusing, and I think the reason that both me and William are correct, is because this is a character movie that doesn't care about its characters. So you
Right.
assume that the characters are going to be the most important part, because the plot is kind of silly and like almost disposable. But then you're watching the movie, and the plot is the only thing that's moving anything
Right.
forward.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of this weird juxtaposition where it's like the characters should be important, but they're not. And the
Yeah.
plot shouldn't be important, but it is. And so they're like fighting, and they don't ever, like, it's like the death of Superman, where they both punch each other to death.
It's just they bounce off one another. No, it's like big themes for a movie not doing big themes. That it's like such a weird
Well, yeah.
juxtaposition. I don't know. It's more like, maybe it's just not done. I don't know. I almost wonder if it was like a budget limitation, because you can almost like see where things should have been bigger and aren't. I don't know. It's almost hard to say like what you would change. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, I don't even know if Jaronowski would want to change anything. I mean, he'd probably want to change that interview. But he
Yeah.
probably doesn't want to change. I think this is what he wanted to make. I think it's like, it's so absurd that it's like, I don't think any part of this was not planned beforehand, you know.
Yeah, it
Um,
feels intentional to
and
a
see,
degree.
this is the other thing, but this is almost a European thing where, like, I think another thing that makes this hard to access is, like I said, there's terrible acts of violence, both normal violence and also the worst kind of violence that you can't see on YouTube. But then, like, during this part when he's cleaning or when he's trying to save everyone else, like at one point they're like trying to get money to like get tools to save people, and he's like cleaning the windows, and then his wife is helping cleaning the windows, but she's cleaning like the bottom windows, and then she like hits him to clean the top window, so he picks her up and he's just kind of holding her. She's cleaning the top window and he's cleaning the other one, and it's like these kind of Three Stooges level humor that runs throughout the movie
Right.
doesn't really connect when you're also having like some of the worst acts of violence, and
No,
even
that's
like
what
the
like
animal
surrounding
stuff.
you.
It's
that's
real.
all. Yeah, yeah. No, like the bandits are doing similar comedy. Like they're holding an
Yeah.
iguana like it's phallic and stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're actually assaulting people.
Yeah,
it's just
like
this
Right.
is. I don't
like
know
you
if
can't
I'm
do
supposed
Three
to think it's
Amigos
funny.
when they're actually like doing
Yeah.
horrific things. You know, like,
Right.
you're not Quentin
right.
Tarantino. I guess Quentin Tarantino can figure it out.
But
But it
yeah,
doesn't work as well here. And
but
so, oh, go ahead.
but no, I guess I'd say like structurally though, and maybe this is just like oh, you're not supposed to care this much about like the plot. To me, it's like odd that you'd be like, oh, here's this evil town and like suffering cave people introduced in like the last third of the movie. I don't. It's like it's almost like shouldn't his path through enlightenment have like had him interact with society? Because it's like he basically exists in a void before this town. So you're like, oh, society doesn't even exist. This is like kind of a dream
he's kind of
state.
gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
But now suddenly we are worried about like logistics of cave tools and stuff when you were just like fighting a man made of bees. See what I'm
It's
saying? Like,
and it's also strange because it's like you have like the whole thing is like it kind of draws on the fact that El Topo realizes that what he's been doing is bad, but the society that you have created in this movie so far, they're all like that. Like it's not like a nice society that El Topo stands out. It's like, no, this is just how everyone here reacts. You know, like
Yeah.
every town that he goes into is doing some kind of horrific
there's some sort of
ritual.
depravity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
except the cave people. And I
Except
guess
for the
the
cave
idea
people,
is
yeah.
like they are
Right.
too like innocent to know like the evil of the world. But
Yeah. And I'm sure that they'll live for a long time. So the next scene, he finally
Yeah.
lets them out. He finally lets them out. They walk out and then they just get murdered. Like
Everybody in the town just has like a shotgun and they're just
Yeah.
ready for him. It's like, whoa.
So then El Topo kills everyone in the town. And then he and this is the coolest looking shot, is that he then like puts oil from the oil lamp on himself and he emulates himself. And like
Yeah.
I don't know how they built this skeleton, but they light a skeleton on fire and it looks super cool the whole time while it's like catching on fire, you know? Because it's on fire and then the fire moves, you see a skeleton body, and I'm like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, it's
I don't,
pretty
I
hardcore.
do not wish that I had to sit through 2 hours of this to watch it, but still good.
and then
yeah.
his wife gives birth at the same time.
Yeah.
Like as he's burning.
And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and then his wife gives, and so then the new El Topo, who's the son, rides off with the wife and the kid. I guess to show that like he's grown because he also has a kid and he didn't abandon.
He
him,
didn't leave the
maybe?
kid, yeah.
And then this is when I said it was gonna come back, because then El Topo becomes a beehive, like the other.
Right.
Yeah, he becomes
Yeah.
bees.
And
yeah.
so before we kind of end, I do want to talk about. So one of the things that Jaranowski is a big proponent of, it's called psycho magic, and this movie
Right.
kind of makes a lot more sense if you put it through that kind of the system, which both in story and outside of the story. So psycho magic, what it comes down to, and I don't know, like, I'm not the expert on psycho magic. I found out about it earlier this week, and I've just been kind of
Yeah.
looking into it.
I
But
found
what
out about this morning.
yeah. What psycho magic is
5
that
seconds
the
ago.
idea is that the only way for you to really heal is to repeat the same actions, or like to watch the same actions again and again. And that's why he makes the films as shocking as he does, because it's like if you have trauma or anything, watching these acts happen on screen will kind of heal you. He believes that it's like a
Mhm.
healing therapy. So that's why he's as shocking and outrageous as he is, which again kind of makes sense why he would the comments he made would make sense if you put it in the vein of he's a shock jock pretty much, and he
Yeah.
thinks that like hearing about this stuff heals you from it. Does not excuse it in any way, but it kind
Sure.
of helps to
Isn't that just
understand it a
kind
little
of like samsara, like the circle of birth and rebirth in a
yeah,
way?
it's
pretty
not
equivalent, I
exactly
think.
like a new concept.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the movie like this, it kind of explains why it's so gratuitous. Like I think at one point, which we didn't even talk about, because it's not relevant to the plot, the town people start playing Russian roulette, and they're like, "Look, God loves us because
Oh,
He's not letting
right.
us.
It's a
He's
miracle.
not letting us shoot ourselves." And then they do it to a child, and then it immediately goes off, and the child,
Yeah, it's
uh,
crazy.
yeah. So like that's why it kind of explains how shocking it is and how like it's almost like trying to not traumatize you, but it is trying to like unnerve you. And it's the whole
Mhm.
point is that it's trying to heal you. And in the movie itself, it kind of makes sense why it's so repetitive, because it's like El Topo himself is kind of doing the same things, and eventually he learns how kind of gross and evil it is. But also like I don't know, I don't need to see it a bunch of times to know murder's bad. Like I figured
Yeah.
it
Right,
out.
yeah.
It is a little, and I know this is like baby's first existential nihilism book, but you do get like shades of Blood Meridian here, where it's like, oh, it's just violence and then more violence. It's like so perpetual that you kind of become like,
Yeah.
okay, like you're
Yeah.
numb to it,
I mean,
And I
especially
feel
the beginning of the movie for sure. Like
I
whenever
feel
they're
like
walking through the villages and everything.
I feel like by the end of Blood Meridian, it kind of comes together as to what he's trying to say, and I don't know if
Oh,
El
I
Topo
agree.
ever comes together in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
way. It just kind of feels like I feel like he didn't like this is gonna sound so bad, but I feel like he doesn't know how to tell a complete story, and he's just kind of going off vibes.
Yeah, it's like he's not
Um,
even that interested in it. It doesn't feel like.
yeah, yeah,
Like that's not really his purpose.
Well,
and
Is to
that's
like tell something normal.
and
right.
I can't speak to the way this was like written, but it definitely gave me the feeling of being on a very low budget set where you're like, well, we have enough money to do this, like that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Well,
like
and
it
yeah,
feels like
because
that.
Jaronowski was also like the writer, the producer, the director, the
Yeah,
actor, and the,
he was
Yeah.
on
who
a
composed the
Borderlands
score.
Right,
shooting
yeah.
budget.
So
I get that, but
so he's not exactly like got the budget of kings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, eventually we'll cover Holy Mountain, maybe Santa Sangre. But I feel like this movie, even if you like you take into account the whole psychomagic stuff, it just doesn't it doesn't ever kind of how do I put this? Justify the content that it's making, like especially if you're gonna kill real animals,
Mhm.
like you have or like to be so gratuitous, you kind of want something more substantial. And I guess this one, like it's like an acid western, like you're just supposed to go for the vibes, but it's like, but the vibes are grotesque.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
holy,
not
what
like,
Right.
oh,
world did
and
I
it's
put on this
cool.
movie? Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's unpleasant, and I don't like watching it. It's
Yeah,
like, okay.
Yeah.
like a movie, and movies can be disturbing and go off vibes. Like you think of, American Psycho is very vibe heavy, but also it's very disturbing what he's doing. But it also like understands the line, where at the same time, like nobody's putting on. Well, Patrick Bateman does, but nobody's putting on Texas Chainsaw Massacre to like, oh yeah, let's just chill out and let's put something
Oh
on
yeah.
in the background. Like it's
Got
just
some
not
people
happening.
coming over. Yeah.
So and it kind of feels like that. Like if you're going for vibes, then like why are the vibes bad? And if you're going for character study, why aren't the characters defined? And if you're going for a plot heavy movie, why do you skip big portions of the plot? Like it just kind of feels like it wants to be everything and it ends up being kind of nothing.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah, I didn't. It's one of those things. It's like It seems more interesting, like the making it, like thinking about how they made it, than it is actually like watching like what the actual film is. You're like, oh, it's kind of crazy you did this, versus
Yeah.
here's the movie you got out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I almost wonder. That's why I think we'll definitely cover at least one more of his films, because I want to see like maybe it is kind of what Josh was saying, where it's like you don't have the budget and you don't have the crew and the facilities and the resources to make this what you wanted it to be, and maybe that's why it kind of feels lacking. I kind of feel like the people who would like this are kind of people who, like we said, like they like the story behind it and the controversy that it's been banned for so long. But I do wonder if anyone's like, oh yeah, my favorite character is El Topo. I really like the way he's
I'm a
Right,
huge
not
Topo.
right.
defined.
It's
Yeah,
kind of like I don't like the movie Only God Forgives It All, but I love My Life with Nicholas Winding Refn, the movie about making it, and it's like
yeah.
that. It's like a huge gulf between those two, you know. So
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too. It's like even a movie like this, it's more interesting to discuss than say like Inhumans or what's that movie Thunderbolts, where it's like, yeah, this is Jaron Alvanowski like trying to get something, even whether it's trying to like push his psycho magic like ideas on the world, or like he does seem to generally be trying to help people with the drama of making this movie, but doesn't work. But I would rather discuss that than like, oh yeah, and then Marvel was like, hey, you got to put in Venom, got to
yeah,
put
Yeah,
in
we need to
right.
allusions
tie
to
into the
Venom.
TV show.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
right,
So
right.
I still don't recommend watching it because
No, I
it's
would
so
not
unpleasant
recommend.
to
Yeah,
women and animals and children.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah,
just
it's a little gross. I,
the
I think that's the
the
thing too. It's like
handicaps. Yeah.
even if you know Jaron Aronofsky was lying about his comments earlier, it's still a gross thing to kind of put in your movie, and even to do it as a publicity stunt makes it even more gross because now you're just telling me that there was no substance to put it in there. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It just kind of it's just the
Like
worst part
it's
is
almost I would
well,
almost recommend a podcast like this about it. So thanks for
yeah. So
listening.
welcome. Yeah.
to this.
Joking
And
around.
we apologies to Darren Aronofsky, which Andrew said in place of Jodorowsky roughly 30 times, because very different man with a very different filmography, which we respect. Darren Aronofsky.
And the cat.
So
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that linger. Um,
Fat Man
but
agrees
yeah,
with me. That's why he came up here.
so I don't
No.
think like I don't know, William. Would you recommend this film?
I mean, I don't know. I think that you really need the content warning for sure.
Yeah,
If you can stomach it, I mean, it is a famous movie. So, I mean, for completion's sake, it's interesting. I would say that whenever I saw this in college, I was really hoping to find the transcendence that was promised to me, and I did not find it. And watching it again as an adult, I also don't feel like I necessarily transcended. And it's more of just like some guy's like own version of like all different types of religions rolled into one kind of like ideal. And it's like a little bit unknowable except for the director. So I don't know. You kind of get what you get out of it if you want to get something out of it, but it's not that I don't know. It's still shocking to this day, but it's like it's shocking in kind of like a '70s way where it's like we've seen a lot of things since then.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like not quite as like it's still hard hitting and there's still a lot of gross stuff and like his comments are really bad, but it's kind of like the way that a horror movie from the '70s is scary in a way that's different than a movie that's made in the modern times. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
I think you kind of had to be there to like really
Yeah,
understand
it's
why
kind of like
people were
when
like
they
so all about it when it first
when they
came out.
redid Funny Games, and they're like, "Isn't it crazy they killed a child?" I'm like, "No, like every other horror movie kills the child now, guys. That's
Right.
not that's like par
yeah.
for the course."
I do think that that's a big thing. It's like there are so many movies now that are kind of doing what El Topo. I mean, I saw The Devil, which we've reviewed on this podcast, is kind of the same, where it's talking
Yeah.
about how violence doesn't work and how you become a monster by perpetuating it,
Exactly.
even if it's for
yeah.
good reasons.
hmm
And that movie's also way better. It looks cooler. The acting's
Yeah,
better.
I would way rather watch that
It's
any day.
not
For
like
sure.
you don't have to worry about whether things are real in it or not.
Yeah, right. No one's saying crazy stuff about
It's
it.
also it's such a basic idea. Like both Red Dead Redemptions are basically about that same concept. You could
Right,
just-
right.
Right.
You could
And I-
play a very successful.
And I
game.
do wonder, like, if you saw
You
this
know.
in the 70s, it would probably blow your mind. I mean, even though the
Yeah.
70s is pretty famous for their kind of out there. I mean, Rosemary's Baby, you know, you have these kind of movies that are pretty hard hitting, and it's like something that we are missing. But again, I feel like even Rosemary's Baby, like, watch that one. Although, again, maybe director, maybe we should never talk about directors from
don't
the
read
70s
anything
ever
about Roman
again.
Polanski. Before you watch it.
Watch that movie and just know that
But I also think, like,
he doesn't own
this-
the rights to it
This
anymore.
would have been like 2 years after 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I think that's a movie where, like, you know, if you don't like it, you're like, oh, it's boring and nothing happens. But it's like, oh, it's such a spectacle. It's transcendent.
Right.
Whereas this isn't even really a spectacle. It's just okay. Now this scene. Now this scene. You know, it's
Yeah.
like there's not enough to it to like get lost in it. You know.
Sure.
And I think
yeah.
2001 does a good job of kind of showing how, you know, you get to that point where you kind of go back, you know, technology and weapons and human race is going and going, and then eventually it swings back down. And
It's like
this,
you become
you're
so
just a
enlightened.
space
It's like a
baby.
rebirth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I think if anything, yeah, watch 2001. My recommendation is to watch 2001 and The Shining.
Right,
And you'll
yeah.
kind of
Watch
get the same
2001.
thing.
Watch Scott Pilgrim.
Watch
That one
watch
episode of The
the
Office.
play Metal Gear
first
Solid.
or watch the Office Depot episode of The Office. That's the most
Mhm. Yeah.
influential. But yeah, I think, like we said, I mean, and I think that's why we kept bringing up other movies, because other movies since then and probably before then have done it better. So like, yeah, just watch those. But yeah, we'll be back. And I think if you're a film historian or film student, I mean, it's worth watching just to kind of see what was going on back then. I know John Lennon was a huge, another hero of Josh's, was a huge
It's not crazy.
proponent of this movie. And so him and the Snake, the Metal Gear Solid guy, huge fans. And so, I mean, people liked it, I guess. Roger Ebert said it was like one of the, he was like, it's an insane movie everyone should watch. So there was that kind of thing. But again, these are all coming from back then, except for the Metal Gear Solid guy. So yeah, I don't know. If you want to check it out, I will never say not to watch a movie, but just know we've given you fair warning. Come back and find out what we had to say about Psycho Magic, because I'm sure that half of the people watching this are going to be like, oh yeah, I didn't know about that until you guys talked about it right now. So, so check it out. The 5 people who are going to listen to this episode who are looking for El Topo reviews.
You have to be be Scott Pilgrim prequel. That'll be the thumbnail.
Yeah,
So
I know.
Yeah.
El Topo means mole. I wish that it had been called El Topo and it was the mole. That would have been better. So yeah, so we'll see you guys next week. Next week we go back. Don't worry, guys. For like the 100 of you who stopped watching our indie movie thing, we're going back to studio movies, you bastards, since you don't like them. But we'll come back. Don't worry, we're always going to cover these films. But next week we are going to start kind of a series, and then we go into, it's going to lead us straight into Halloween. Also, it might not be next week. It might be in 2 weeks. It just depends on when our deep dive comes out. But either way, we're leading into Halloween. So the next Bomb Squad episode we do is going to be a fun one that you're really going to like. And then we'll see. But come back next week when we talk about a secret movie that you'll love. We're going to go visit a town.
My gosh.
And it might get a little bit foggy.
It's Ben Affleck's The Town.